everybody. I guess you guys couldn't hear me because I didn't have myself inside the screen. So, but I was making sure that it was working, and so it was just silent initially. So, but I'm on, and I can see some eyeballs, so that means that there are some people on. So I wanted to say welcome. So we are on day 6. So today we're going to be talking about finding meaning and transcending. But before we do that, one of the things that I wanted to do is have is just show you guys something. So what I wanted to do was, I've been talking about the fact that the replays, oh, can you hear me now? Hang on. Hear me now? Okay, you can hear me. Okay, yay. Whew. Phew. Just making sure. So, good. So apparently I didn't do this very well. So on day 6, apparently I have lost the jive of how things are actually going. So initially there was probably no sound because I had the screen off and I didn't have me up inside the camera. So I was hidden down below. So what I wanted to share, so like I said, I'm starting off with day 6. So day 6 is finding meaning and transcending. So these are the last of the dimensions that we have. So when we finding meaning. So when we're looking at the wheel, so that means that we have gone through 10 of the dimensions already. So we've got finding meaning and transcending is where we are actually moving towards. And so, but before I do that, I wanted to share my screen. And so I was actually starting to type, can you hear me? Because I was starting to worry. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So there we go. So I wanted to show you this. So on the 17th, Tasha will be taking all of the replays off. So if you haven't had a chance to be able to catch the replays, then that's going to be one of the things that you, but I wanted to be able to show you what's going to happen when you, because this is similar to the page that you had. You had a hard time finding me today. And that was because I actually didn't do the preview. I thought I had, but I didn't want to confuse people this morning. So I did the first one for the cards. And then I was supposed to be doing a preview for this one. And then I forgot to do that and then put it in the announcements. So I'm glad that you found me. So this is awesome. So this here is the workshop page. So what's going to happen is, inside this Facebook group, the conversations are going to continue to happen. The posts themselves are going to continue to be there, but the replays are going to be no longer there on the 17th. So one of the things that we've created is that everybody who has registered will still have access to all of the replays, so you can come back and get them. So this here is the portal section, and I know that Sabrina's on, but Claire is on off holidays. So I'm going to be having you and Claire connect, so that way there you guys can actually get your troubleshooting going for the portal, Sabrina, so that you can get that part figured out. And so just so that you know that I know that, and I will connect you with Claire. But this is the workshop portal. So what's going to happen is you're going to have access to these pages. So you're going to be having access to these with the, and then there's going to be like next, but I'll just kind of scroll through the whole thing. So it just gives an explanation of what it is that we're doing, what it is that's happening. And this is where you're actually calling, catching all the replays. And again, this is where you can come back and just, if you wanted just a point of what, or a summary of each one of the dimensions are all here. And then if for whatever reason you can't find your PDF, you'll be able to go all the way down to here and you can download the workbook. But then one of the things that, so going all the way back up to the top, is here you can go to next. And what will happen is it'll take you to the next page. And then here it talks about the self-responsibility and love and the breathing. So the first day, so day 1, we'll have all the different information and the replays. So you'll have access to the replays right here so that you can come back. And then, of course, there's a link to be able to get you back to the Facebook group if you want to be able to come back. And then I also listed the self-care practices down here as well. So you'll have access to doing this inside your portal. Claire's going to make this part looking pretty because she was off on holidays. So I was doing this part. So she's going to remove the gaps and make gaps where I've got everything too crowded together, but she will do that prettying up. And then, but it'll have all the different things in here. Oh, I'm going down too far. So I'm only supposed to be going here because those other ones are supposed to be gone. But I will have those ones done up so that this one here will be the right one. So then here's day 2, sensing and eating. And so here, the YouTube video didn't come on. So apparently I didn't do something properly, of course. And so then, but again, it'll have the self-care practices and the replays will be in here as well. And then you just continue to keep going. And the other ones aren't updated yet. So those ones will be updated before the 17th. So you'll definitely have access to them. So they'll be right at your fingertips in order to be able to get them. So in an email, you will have access to your login information so that unless you already have a portal, but like I said, except for Sabrina, I know that Sabrina's having some difficulty with that. So she's going to get some help with that, and we're going to be able to get that part figured out. So you need to be logged in order to be able to have access to these, but this is where you're going to be able to catch the replays and to be able to continue on with going back if you want to be able to go back and listen to it again and see what it is that's happening that way. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is a program called Soulful Life Hacks. And so Soulful Life Hacks is a program that only opens up 4 times a year. And so but it goes ongoing throughout the entire year. But we have 4 times a year so each season that we take in new members into our group. And one of the reasons why we do that is because we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to be able to get comfortable with each other and get to know each other before we bring in somebody new. So once I open it up and people join in, then no one else can join in until later. And so until the next time we go around. So then, but at every season we start fresh and we have people join in. And the part about Soulful Life Hacks is that I find is really important. And the points that I get back from my community is that it's about being able to have made those connections and having those, building those friendships and having those conversations. And so each week we get together on Zoom. And so we get together virtually, so like everywhere around the world, and we get to have conversations about what is it that's going on. And we get to dive in deeper to a lot of the things that we've been talking about, right? So like throughout the week, I've actually talked about like different scenarios and things like that I've had with different clients. And so, but it's about having those conversations. And one of the things that I really love is that things just lined up based on scenarios and things that happened. So for example, last Wednesday when we had our session, then on Thursday when we had our session, this loving acceptance of yourself, is that some of those conversations tied into what was actually being talked about the next day. And it was just really interesting how those things just kind of loop together and connect together. And so, and that is the biggest component, I feel about the Soulful Life Hacks, is us being able to get together and having those conversations. And we just get together and we do some group coaching and we deal with whatever issues that we have coming up and whatever it is that's going on. And then of course you have access to the replays at any time. But most people don't go back and listen to the replays, but you can. So if you wanted to go back and listen to the replays, but it's about being able to have that community and having those conversations. And so we have a private group, and currently that private group is still on Facebook. But over the course of the winter months, it's going to be switching over to directly into the website. So you're not even going to have to go onto Facebook to be able to stay connected with everybody. With Soulful Life Hacks, you'll actually be able to stay right in the website. And so it really is about being able to have access to those weekly group coachings, and then there's lots of other tools that I make available that you have access to be able to kind of enhance some of the things that you're doing. And then once a month, there's a monthly life hack where I provide a different tool based on the conversations and stuff that we have going on as to what it is that is needed inside the group, and that's what it is that I put out. To be able to have some more training or some more connection or some more knowledge or some more practice specifically to something that we're doing. So it's, and I just wanted to make sure that I just mentioned that, simply because I know that Tasha has an email that's going to be going out this evening, I believe. So, but I just wanted to be able to talk about those things as well. So like, just because we're getting close to coming to an end, so we've got 2 more days. So tomorrow's going to be question and answers. Tasha has been gathering the questions for me. So tomorrow I'm going to be on live. And again, you can ask questions on live, but Tasha is also going to have a series of questions that people have been asking, so that I can answer some of those questions as well. And so definitely, if you have any questions, get a hold of Tasha or Claire, and they will definitely help to make sure, or you can ask them in the group and stuff as well. So I can definitely answer them, but we're going to gather a lot of the questions that we've had and put those together in a question and answer period tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, yes, today's Sunday. So on Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the different things that are inside the Soulful Life Hacks, as well as potentially hearing from some of the different members inside the group, and that are willing to be able to share their experiences as to what it is that has been helpful for them, or and that is a little bit intimidating. So I'm not sure, I've got some maybes, so I'm not sure who will be comfortable being able to come on and share. I know that the girls are great in terms of being able to share on chatting. So like they are great at being able to say like, yeah, this is really amazing. Like, these are the things that we really enjoy. We really look forward to our Wednesday evenings. So and right now they're always Wednesday evenings, but depending on the group, and if we need to shift some time, we can definitely be looking at some of those different dates and stuff as well, so that we have that availability. But once we close the doors, which will be, it should be Tuesday, but because of some of the delays and some of the things that we've had going on, we're looking at the 16th. But once the doors are closed, then the doors are closed until the following season. So, but now let's get down to the meat and potatoes of what it is that we're talking about today. So I just wanted to touch base on that before I forgot. And because if I didn't do it now, then I will end up forgetting. So, but yeah, so those are the couple of things that are happening. So finding meaning and transcending. So like I said, we're getting to the end of the conversations. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about this week is the conversations that we've been having inside the Facebook group about what is it that has been happening. And as people are catching the replays and they're exploring the different things and some of the feedback, and having the conversations back and forth as to like, hey, yeah, like, let's try this. I know that Gail made a suggestion of, is it refit, Gail, that you had suggested being able to do for the winter months. And so like when we were talking about the moving section, and so I went and took a look at it, and I think that that's super cool. And I love to dance and I love to move. So I will definitely be taking a look at it and trying some of it, because I thought it looked pretty cool when I went and checked it out. And I know that Melissa, she had, when Gail had commented on that, had said, yeah, like that is really cool. And I really love that. So I'm definitely going to be exploring that this winter once I start trying to find some different ways of being able to keep moving. Because as you saw from my chart, movement is something that I need to be doing more of. And so I don't have the excuse anymore of injury. So I need to make sure that I get moving and keep that activity happening. So with respect to finding meaning, that's going to look different for a lot of us, right? So the search for finding meaning is with respect to who am I, why am I here, and working at being able to addressing these questions. And so I know that for people like my mom, who's just lost their husband is trying to find meaning and trying to figure out, like, why am I here? What's going on? And how do I kind of move forward with this transition? I know that I have different friends that are their kids are flying the coop, right? So they are empty nesters, and this is the first time, and this is a lot of adjustment and having to do those changes and having those connections. Becoming a mom for the first time, or a mom who's returning back to work for the first time after having been off on mat leave. And so, like, there's all these different things of and our lives transition, right? So we don't stay the exact same way that we were in the first place, right? So we change that, we move, and things change and things shift. And so we just take a look at and those finding meanings. I know that if I went back and looked at my 15-year-old self, finding meaning looked so much different than finding meaning does right now, right? So when you actually take a look and explore those things, it's really important for us to be able to have those conversations about with ourselves, right? So we can have these conversations with other people, and that is still really important for us to be able to have those conversations, because then it helps us to be able to get insight. And that's where the group conversations were really great this week, because people were having these conversations. And like I said, so now I have a resource that I didn't even realize was a resource, because I had never heard of it. And so, but at this point, when we're doing that finding meaning, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out, who are we? What are we in terms of that uniqueness? Because we are all completely unique, and it doesn't matter. So I grew up in a family of 4, and we're 4 girls. And so you would think we were raised by the exact same people, and we were raised in the exact same home. However, we have a completely different way of looking at things. We have a different perspective. We have had different experiences. And so we don't look at things the exact same way. And so if you ask each one of us, what was it like to live in our home growing up, we would all have a different perspective. And it was just really interesting when we did get older and we would have these conversations, and my one sister would say something, and I would say, oh, I didn't even remember that. Like, I didn't even pay attention to that, or I didn't even notice that. Or somebody else would say something, or I would say something, and it would be that same kind of conversation. And so if you have siblings, you probably have had those conversations. There's also the age differences. So like that would make a difference as well. In my family, that wouldn't make a difference, because like I was born in 70 and my youngest sister was born in 74. So like we were all pretty much back to back in terms of children. My sister, who's immediately after me, because I'm the oldest, is 10 months younger than me. So we were pretty close. So there's a gap between my third sister and my youngest sister. So like there's a little bit of a gap there. So my third sister, the one who was born third, she was born in 72, and the other one was born in 74. So there was, mom and dad had a little bit of a gap, but had zero gap between me and my sister Yvonne. So it's just really important for us to be able to kind of figure out, like, what is it that we want to be able to do. And for those of us, and so Gail is a perfect example. Gail has just retired, right? So Gail has to now try and figure out what her world is going to look like. And I know that those are the different things that she's been exploring. And she said inside the group that those are things that she needs to be taking a look at, because it looks different, like even communicating and those self conversations and emotions and things like that I think it was under the emotional one that she was talking about, that is that being able to see how things have shifted or changed, because now her role is completely different, and widowed. Yes. And widowed, right? So Gail's got, and both of them happened at the same time. So you retired and then your husband passed, I think, right, Gail? And so, but yeah, so like Gail's had huge transition, and I did know that, but you hadn't shared that. So I didn't want to share that on your behalf. So, but that's really important for us to be able to remember that we've got these transitions and we have these different things that are going on. For some of us, it's the transition of going from starting school to being on our own. Some of us, it's the transition of moving to a different community and leaving our family behind. Good English. And so it's just really important for us to be able to, like, where do I want to go? What is it that I want to be able to do? And one of the things that I said at the beginning of the week, and I know that I've repeated at different times of the week, is being able to remember that what we have going on is like, take what you need and leave the rest. And that is something that I say so often, because just because it works for someone else doesn't mean that it's going to work for us, right? So it's important for us to be able to remember that different things. So like, again, even going back to the movement, right? So somebody can do aerobics and that works really well for them. Somebody else can go mountain climbing and that works really well for them. But it all depends on who we are, what is it that works for us, and how things happen. And that's the same with finding meaning. So what you want to be able to do is explore those questions. And so when we have these conversations, then it makes a huge difference in terms of that connection. So I'm just going to go back to my chart, and I didn't have it open because I wasn't planning on doing that. That's what happens when you just have like ad lib conversations. So I have my notes, but it's not always the same where to go. Well, this will comparison. Okay, so I'm going to go back and share my screen again. So when I go back and look at this as in terms of the finding meaning, so for me, it has changed a little bit, right? So, but if I was going back and looking at it back in 2012, it looked completely different than this. And so it was actually quite low in terms of, so like it's gone up a little bit here in terms of the percentage. So it's gone up to finding meaning. So finding meaning has gone from 76 to 81. So it's not huge difference, but it is still a difference in terms of being able to figure out who I am and what is it that I have going on. And so, and this chart changes based on the transitions that we have going on in our lives and the situations that we have happening. So it's just really important for us to be able to take a look at, how does that work for me? And is this really what it is that I want to be able to do? And taking those steps forward and being able to understand that, yeah, this isn't for me, and stepping back, or, oh yeah, this is like really great, and being able to kind of move forward with that. And so it's just really important for us to be able to have those conversations that way. So, so one of the things, with the self-care practice, so self-care practice that I have for this one is one thing I want to do before I pass from earth. And so like, this is your bucket list. And so obviously this isn't going to be something that you are going to, immediately be able to check off. And maybe you can, depending on what it is that you put on that list. But what are some of those things that you want to be able to do? It can be something like super large, or it can be something that's really small. So all depends on what it is that you have to do. And every day taking a step, like, so once you have that list, then every day you get to take a step forward to, what do I want that to look like? Right? So what is it that I can do today to be able to get me further to that goal? And how am I going to be able to get there today? And so that's extremely important. And so, so again, using Gail, because Gail's on, is I know that she has like a beautiful property front that she has, that she can go and become completely grounded. And she has some beautiful trails. And I know that she shared different pictures at different times of her trail and the trees and nature, and being able to connect with that. Whereas someone else may not necessarily have access to that as readily, and they may have to go someplace to be able to get there, or to be able to have that connection. And so it's really important for us to be able to figure out what's going to work for us, and how are we going to be able to get there, and what's going to be able to help us get to that life energy. So transcending, this one here sometimes makes some people uncomfortable. And so this is one that I had a lot of difficulty with. And so when I initially started with having these conversations and talking about different things and being able to connect with my spirituality, because I grew up Catholic. And so for me, it was like there were certain rules, and you were supposed to do certain things, and you're supposed to have different beliefs. And there was sometimes things that did not fit well for me, that it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense for me, or I don't understand that one, or this one here. And so like, you're not supposed to question. And And if you are Catholic and you follow your practice and that works for you, then that works for you. However, for me, it was a lot of having to think about, like, does that really fit for me? And is that really what it is that I want to be able to do? And I know that things have actually evolved, and there's some different things that have actually gone on in the religion as well. But we grew up with you're to be seen and not heard, right? So like that is definitely not how I raised my children, and I didn't want my children to be raised that way. And so that became part of those conversations. And so with my and again my younger son, so he always had different questions and different things, and he always challenged everything, and he still does, and which is really great. And that was something that I allowed him to be able to do, because it was something that was I don't know that I would actually have had any control over it even if I didn't allow him to. But it was being able to have those conversations about what is it that works for him, and being able to question the different things. Because he went to a Catholic school, the rule was you still need to follow the curriculum, and you still need to do what it is that they're telling you to do in school, and please don't challenge the priest. And so like when he's coming in and performing mass, please do not challenge that. But we're allowed to have those conversations. And so I let the school know ahead of time. And so he was in grade 3 and 4 at the time, and he had an amazing teacher. He had lots of amazing teachers. And so his teacher called me up and he says, okay, so I know that you forewarned us and you let us know that this is what was going on, because I always made sure the school was aware of anything that was going on, especially with him, because like things were always really challenging. And so, but one of the things is that because I wanted them to be able to learn and practice and have a belief system that they knew that there was something bigger than themselves, that one of the things that I asked or that I always let them do is have that exploration, and being baptized Catholic was important for me, so that they had something that they were able to take a look at. And so so when he was in grade 3, it was a 3-4 split. So I can't remember if he was in grade 3 or if he was in grade 4, but he was in a 3-4 split because he had the same teacher for 2 years. And so he had the conversation. And so the teacher said, okay, here's your exercise. I want you to draw yourself in God's image. And so he didn't have the belief that there was a God, because he had a different belief, and because that was one of the things that he was questioning. And we didn't tell him, yes, absolutely, you have to believe this, or no, absolutely not, you can't, you have to believe this, and whatever. Like, we didn't give him those parameters, just that this is what he was actually contemplating and trying to figure out and trying to understand. And so one of the things that he said, so like he sat there because he's like, he doesn't believe that there's an actual God. And so it's like, okay, so whatever case. And so, but the teacher said, but Mom said, and so he took him out of the classroom, went into the hallway and said, Mom said, you still need to be able to do this. You can question all you want, but you still need to actually do the exercise. So if you believed in God, what would that look like for you? And so one of the things that I have always believed is that there's lots of energies around me. And so not being able to have been grown up Métis is that I didn't get to grow up knowing my culture and knowing that there was spirits that, and I strongly believe in those connections. And so, so I believe that there's lots of spirits and lots of energies, and there's a divine energy out there that is definitely stronger than myself. And so he drew a picture, and his picture was images. And so he brought it home because the teacher had him bring it home. But he drew it was light and colors. And so like those are one of the things, and he's very artistic. And so he was drawing these kinds of things, and that's what it was. And so I said, okay, so tell me more about what it is that you believe. And he said, I believe that there's energy out there, that there's not necessarily one particular being, but there's something out there that is out there and working together to be able to create whatever it is that's going on. And so whether you believe that that's to be true for him, or believe him to be true with that or not, that was his belief, and that was what it is that worked for him, and that's how it made sense for him. And so but one of the things is, like I said, in terms of having those beings and having those beliefs, and so that's one of the things that allows me to be able to tap into being able to use different resources and being able to explore what works for me. And so some things I've taken and I've made them my own, and that is part of my practices. Whereas others, it's like, no, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. I don't like that. And I don't want to be using that and participating in that. And so that's all that I want to invite you to do with respect to transcending is, what does that look like for you? And what are those experiences, and how does it impact what it is that you have going on? And for some people who've always believed in God, and there's been something that's happened, and then they have that, oh my God, I can't believe, and I don't know that I believe this anymore, and they challenge those belief systems. And that's okay for us to be able to figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us. But no matter what, there is still something much larger than us that has a pull as to what it is that is happening in the world. And we don't get to make those decisions. And so, yes, we can influence the way that things are going to happen, but we come to life, we're born at a certain time and we die at a certain time. And we don't have that, we don't know when that's going to be or how that's going to be, and what's going to be in between. We can shift things, we can have those experiences. And so, like, looking at Gail, so Gail knew that she was going to retire around this specific time after having been a nurse for this many years. But it was certainly not expected that she was then going to be widowed at this age, at this time, during that time frame, right? So when she got married, that wasn't the intention of her retirement and her life with her husband. And so it's just really important for us to be able to try and understand from our perspective and our own life experiences as to what does that mean for us, and how is it that we're going to move from point A to point B. And so it's really important for us to be able to doing some mindfulness. Mindfulness is one of the biggest ones, and that's what the self-care practice is doing a mindfulness practice and finding a way of being able to implement that into our daily lives. And again, all the different things that we've had with these self-care practices is being able to figure out what works for us and where do we want to put our focus, because is that where we want to put our focus today? And so it's really important for us to be able to figure out how we want to be able to move through those things. And so that's what I have for you guys with transcending. And so the homework posts or the self-care practice posts have actually gone out at the same time, at the right time today. And so the next one's going to be in about 12 minutes. And so you'll have access to those, and I will pin them and this video inside into the featured comments. So you'll have access to those. And again, if you guys have any questions, Tasha and Claire and Julia will be in your DMs and having conversations with you. So in your direct message, your private messages. And so if you guys have any questions, definitely shoot messages out to them. They are definitely there to help guide you and support you in this entire process. And sometime this week, so I don't know, we're having a team meeting tomorrow. So tomorrow I will know for sure when you guys will have access to the portal area. So they'll have access to the replays off Facebook, and which will definitely be before the 17th. So you'll definitely have access before then. I just don't know the time frame because, like I said, Claire's just come back from holidays. And so we've got a few things that we need to make sure that are all in line with the things that are going on. So but yeah, so that's where things are at. And so hopefully that has been very helpful. Tomorrow will be question and answers. And then the day after we will have some conversations with people. And so even within this practice, so yes, I'm going to try and see if I can get some of the girls from the Soulful Life Hacks to be able to join us. But if you want to be able to join in on camera and have conversations, we would love to be able to have you join us on that as well. So I will chat with all of you guys later, and I will be back tomorrow. So have a great night. Bye for now.